Welcome to PA Timber Ghost. These are some stories from the past when I was growing up, becoming a deer hunter. My first bow was a Jennings Compound. It was a youth bow. And generally a youth bow, you can adjust the length on it and you can actually put bigger cams on it to get the poundage to go up, and you can make the jaw come back further. And that's what I killed. That's what I killed my first deer with. I was hunting with my dad back on the Wildcat up in Schuylkill County. And I had one of these string trackers on my bow. Modern technology then, we didn't have any lighted nocks or expandable broadheads. And the string tracker, it had a little piece of wire that you would screw underneath the broadhead. And it had a big spool that screwed in where your stabilizer went on your bow. And as you shot it, the dental floss would come out. The dental floss was 1,000 feet or more. And after you proceeded to hit your deer with that broadhead, you could follow the dental floss to see where it came out. At that time, a lot of bear hunters were using them because sometimes when you put an arrow through a bear, there's no blood trail. But the first shot with that Jennings Compound, the dental floss actually slowed that down so much that it stuck in the ground right in front of the doe, and the doe looked at it and it just kept on walking. It didn't even run. So I was up in a big hemlock. I quickly cut that off, and I was no longer going to use that. I put another arrow in there, and another herd of deer came by, and the big doe came out, and I let another one go with that other doe, and she jumped the string a little bit. I was aiming for a double lung shot, and it hit the femoral artery in her back leg, and I knew it was a solid hit because I could see the blood running down, and she went about 100 yards and fell over. So that was my first archery kill with my Jennings Compound bow at a whopping 50 pounds, and the velocity of that arrow coming out of there was very slow. It was a really big arc. I'm guessing it was about 30 or 40 yards. That arrow was probably flying maybe at 180 feet per second, like it got shot out of a recurve. But that was my first archery kill, and I believe I was about 12 or 13 years old. My second deer I shot with my Winchester Ranger Model 120, and I was hunting after school. Some of the guys I grew up with, they were all hunting this one area behind the junkyard. So I had to walk through about 6 farm fields to get there. It was a couple miles away. And I shot a doe at about 10 feet. They pushed a bunch of doe out of the woods. And the first two almost ran over me because my feet were sticking out and the gun barrel was sticking out. I pulled back and there was another big one came, and I fired a couple rounds on there, and I knocked her over at about 10 feet and field dressed her. And that doe was bigger than I was. I was about 95 pounds. And that doe was 110, 120 pounds. It was a very nice doe. So I field dressed it by myself. The other deer I got, my dad took care of. There was no way I was going to leave that deer in the woods after dark because I was so excited. I finally got a deer by myself on my own, field dressed it and drug it out. I drug it across the road, and there was a house there, and there was a police officer in the corner that lived there. So I went over and knocked on his door. I left the deer and all my stuff outside of his property line, and called my mom up. We had the old Chevy Chevette, and she drove down that long driveway, and we threw that deer in the back. And my dad was proud of me because I did everything by myself. That was deer number 2. Another time I was hunting with my dad. I got some permission to hunt on private property. They were putting a housing development in on a farm. So I went up and knocked on the door and talked to her for a while, and she let me hunt there. There was 3 other farms surrounding that. I went out there the first morning by myself, and my dad was working. It was very cold that day, and I climbed up in an oak tree that had 7 or 8 trunks sticking out of it, and I was kind of sitting in the middle. And I had about 10 rounds with me for my shotgun. I had Foster slugs, a green box Remington. I had no idea how far these Foster slugs would shoot. I've never really shot any at the range. The other deer I shot with them was very fortunate because it was only 10 feet away. That first deer I shot at, I pulled the trigger and it looked like it fell over. I thought, man, that was too easy. So I'm standing there looking, and apparently the deer just ducked behind a tree, and that one walked away. And then about 10 more came by. I picked out another big one, and I emptied the gun, reloaded it, emptied the gun again. I figured I had to get that deer. I kept shooting at that same deer. I had to get it. I guess after I got down into the tree and I paced it off, it was a little bit over 100 yards, and I found where all my slugs hit. They were all about 4 foot low in front of the deer, so they must have been skipping around and the deer were jumping out of the way. I didn't even clip a piece of fur. That was a learning curve for me with Foster style slugs and the old smoothbore shotgun. We didn't have any slug gun technology yet. We didn't have any rifled barrels or scopes or anything on them. We were just killing old school. So that was a swing and a miss. And the following Saturday I came out with my dad and I put him in that spot, and I went across the field and I found a tree. It was out on the other side of the field hanging over like this. So I climbed up there. We're going to do a retake on this, see if I could get another deer. And I was sitting up in that tree and I heard a deer came by and I seen a big spike sticking up. Very nice deer, and I put that gun on him, put that bead on that shoulder, fired off a round, and I knew I hit him because I could hear the impact. But I proceeded to fire everything else that was in my gun at it, and only the first round went off. Had some buck fever there. There was some crazy stuff going on, and the deer ran across the other side. And my dad saw him limping, but if he would have shot him and finished him off, I would have had that deer. It went up in the cornfield and lay down, and I don't think it was a fatal wound. I think I nicked it somewhere, and it clotted up and vanished. But when I climbed down out of the tree, I had 5 live rounds on the ground. The first one went off, and the other 5, I got so excited, I emptied the gun on them but never pulled the trigger. I ejected all 5 of them on the ground. So the fog of buck fever, sometimes strange things happen. I've shot quite a few arrows at deer that landed in front of them or behind them, or it stuck in a limb next to them. Limb that you couldn't see, and you could hear that telltale whack, and you were pretty sure that arrow stuck in a tree. And that deer looked around, couldn't figure out where you were, and it didn't even run away. It just kept on walking. Oh man, some funny times. The first deer I actually saw with my Jennings bow, I had a big herd of deer come up, and there was a big doe standing there. My dad's in a tree on the other side of the gully looking at me, and I didn't know what to do. That deer was snorting at me, stomping a foot. I came to a full draw on that doe quite a few times, and I didn't know to let go or what. I let it down about 3 times, and finally that doe walked away. That was the very first time I went deer hunting. My dad was up in a tree laughing so hard, and he always remembered that. Never let me forget that. Remember that time that big doe came out in front of you, and you were shaking so bad, and you kept pulling back, and then putting your limbs down, pulling it back, putting the limbs down. You never let one go. You were so beside yourself. So it happens to the best of us. These are my funny hunting stories. When I was growing up, I have quite a few of them in my later years also. But a lot of these I can't stop laughing. And teaching new hunters, we all make the same mistakes, but that's part of the learning experience, becoming a better hunter. Thanks for watching PA Timber Goose. Like, share, and subscribe. Check out the community page. As always, hit that subscribe button. It helps the channel grow. And we'll see you on the next video. Thanks for watching PA Timber Goose.